Hey, is this thing on? Are we recording? Can I get a tech person? Oh, for the love of EdTech. If you're tasked with managing hundreds or thousands of student Chromebooks, you'll want to check out our sponsor, Visor. Visor is a Chromebook and IT asset management software solution designed specifically for school districts. To find out how Visor can help your school manage Chromebooks and get 20% off, go to visor.cloud/loveedtech. That's VIZOR.cloud/loveedtech, or click the link in the show notes. Thanks, Visor. Joining us today is Jennifer Haller, who is an instructional technology coach with the Hamilton County Educational Service Center, who is working at Winton Woods Schools in Ohio. So, hey, Jennifer, thank you so much for talking to us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, well, we're excited to hear several different things. We have lots of questions for you. But first, I know that you've had several different roles within education. So I'm just curious kind of what your journey is that led you to your current role.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
We're going deep here.
Yes.
Okay. So I did not have the traditional path. Okay. I don't think, at least, because I actually do teach. I'm an adjunct professor, and I teach instructional tech to education majors. And it's so funny to hear their stories when I ask them, why did you want to become a teacher? How did you? They're like, I wanted to be a teacher from when I was like a little kid, and I played school, and I had relatives. My mom was a teacher, this, that, and the other thing. Totally not that way for me. I kind of read theirs and I'm like, that's kind of interesting, but that's not how I got here.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to be open and honest. Did not really ever think to become a teacher until I was in high school. I took a photography class and really started to get into photography. Now, this was old school photography. This is print, and we had a dark room.
Like
it was
dark
good
room.
stuff.
Yes.
And I really got into it. My dad put a dark room in the basement for me, and I started doing some stuff.
Cool.
And that teacher really kind of, was someone I looked up to. But I really wanted to coach basketball. I played in high school, and I played in junior college and everything. And so I wanted to coach. And they said, well, if you want to coach, you got to you got to teach. And I said, well, I don't really want to teach.
Yeah, I just want to coach.
So, and they said, well, I said, okay, well, I could teach photography. I love art. I love photography. So let's kind of go that route. And so that's where I went. But ask me how much I've actually taught art. Half a year.
Hey, oh my gosh.
So my college route was weird. And so I ended up with a lot of electives because I transferred from a junior college up. And my junior college, we did so much academic work that I had a lot of electives. So I was getting my certification in visual art, and they said, well, do a dual certification so that you'll, be more marketable.
Yeah.
And I said, but I don't want to teach anything else. And, so we went around, around. But I ended up taking the elementary course. And so because of my age, I'm certified K-8 as well. And so I taught 7th and 8th grade. But you know what? Like, I was a little hesitant at first, but really decided that those were my people. Those 7th and 8th graders, I just really connected with them, and I really enjoyed it. So in teaching 7th and 8th grade, that's actually how I got into technology because, again, dating myself, one year that I was teaching was the year that smart boards came out. The very first year that they came out, and I read about them, and I'm like, oh, well, this will be really cool. I asked if I could get one. They were like, we don't have any money. And so then I saw that there was a grant, smart boards, the company was trying to put them in districts or in rooms. And so you could apply for a grant. I applied, I got it. And so I was the only one in my school that got it, but had to assemble it.
Oh, geez.
Had to figure out like the whole, where the projector goes, all the wiring, and had to learn how to use it all on my own.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was kind of my start. But honestly, once I started using it in class, even then, like just the engagement of the students, I was like, okay, this is where we're going. We can't go back. And so that's kind of what started me on my journey as I rolled then into an academic coach position. And because of my technology background and how much I had used, they were like, well, we want you to focus more on technology. And so I did that at another district. And then this position at Hamilton County opened up, and I was like, this is what I've been doing all along. This is what I really enjoy. And so here I am on going into my 10th year of this position at Hamilton County. So
that's awesome. And I'm just curious, like, because it's different everywhere, as an instructional technology coach, kind of what role do you play in the district that you're currently at.
Sure. And that is, and you are correct, because even with some of my colleagues, it looks different. I have to say I'm blessed where I am. Winton Woods City Schools is a project-based learning district.
Okay, which we want to know more about that.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So K to 12. I've kind of served all the buildings, but I've been the most here at the high school. This year they added grades 7 and 8 to me too, because they're now at a whole campus that encompasses grades 7 through 12, split, but they're on the same campus. So it makes it easier. And so, it took a couple of years. I mean, I think as we know, with coaching, you've got to establish those relationships, and everybody has to understand, really, what do you do?
Yeah.
Winton Woods really was on the forefront, though. They were one of the first ones, and they've been kind of having an instructional coach really embedded, and not just to do PDs here and there. And not with that follow-up. They really said, no, we want you to be there to support the teachers. I have a great principal who's really embraced that, and he sees me as the instructional technology coach.
That's fantastic.
So yes, I mean, I'm part of the building leadership team, help with any, decisions with academic. The teachers can come to me for, even just PBL help. So, because I've gotten the training on that as well. They've really invested in me as being part of an academic leader.
That's great.
So it's awesome. It really is.
Because I feel like we hear stories oftentimes where, people still don't really understand the role. And so they're coming to ask like, well, my printer doesn't work, or, and it's like, wait, no, I'm not like the wires person. I am here to help you like integrate the technology into the learning, So
absolutely.
Yeah,
and I'll be honest, I still get that too from some people, right? But, and especially now that having the 7th and 8th grade for the first time, some of them are still, so they don't know exactly what I can do.
Yeah.
Or what what I'm willing to do.
Yeah. So that's great. So I'm really curious, as a PBL district, which for those listeners that may not know that acronym, because we have lots of them, it stands for project-based learning. What does that look like? Because I'm always fascinated by districts who go that route. And, does it consume all content areas? Is it just like an overarching mindset for the district? Is it all of the above?
Well, Winton Woods is all in.
Okay.
Especially grades 7 through 12. But they are part of the New Tech Network. It is a specific PBL branch group. You join it, and they have all these schools, really fantastic school out in California, New Tech, cool. Or it's called New Technology High School. I think everybody calls it New Tech, but it's New Technology High School. They've been they were their first and kind of their flagship, for it. But they have a very, I'm going to say prescribed, but you don't do PBL prescribed per se, but there's all of their support. They have a national conference that I've been to and even presented at, and different things, but they're all in, and it's expected at all levels and all content, which can be hard for some content areas. So they do have to modify, some things, but no, everybody is PBL.
How does that PBL framework play into testing?
That's a great question.
Because I feel like that is oftentimes the pushback aspect is like, well, how am I supposed to do all these projects while still giving them the content and the skills they need to be successful in the tests?
So in the project planning toolkit, which is for those of us who are teachers, it's kind of a version of a lesson plan. Okay. Right? But it leads you through how to actually, do it. There's a I don't say a method, a plan to it, and kind of like an outline of the pieces that go in there. And part of those pieces are that they still give, I don't call them end of unit tests or quizzes, but we call them you could call it a benchmark. Okay. Right? So as you're giving the content that builds to that final culminating project, you have these pieces that I'm learning along the way. Well, I have to do, and so that might be benchmark 1. Well, there has to be sort of an assessment piece to that benchmark 1 to make sure I know that content before I move on as I'm building all the pieces to that final culminating event. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So depends on the content as to what that assessment piece looks like. There are a lot of, you talk about acronyms. There's this piece called an IACT, IAKT, which is Individual Assessment of Knowledge and Thinking.
Okay.
And the way that New Tech does that, that's actually that's a writing piece, right? So the kids have to kind of write about what they've done or what they've learned up to this point or something specific that the teacher asks. But again, because we're in education, because we're still in the state of Ohio, because we still have to meet those requirements, there still are tests. Even after that project kind of thing would be a test at the end as well. And so we still take that. They still do the MAP testing. They still do the end of course exams, that are required by the state. But really the district kind of looks at it and says, even with PBL, it's a holistic approach. And you're still learning all of this information that really they should be even over prepared with the knowledge to take, and the projects are still based on the standards that the teachers have to cover. So they're still covering all their material that they have to, that meets those requirements for those, for those exams, for those tests. So I will say it's some of it. The one piece that maybe is a slight struggle is, not really giving those really long, lengthy tests that all the time. So we do have to kind of build that rigor up in the kids, build that up, so that they're able to take those, because we don't really give those long, lengthy tests. That take however long the sections of those tests take. But we do some practice on that as well.
Okay, so switching gears, I'm just curious how you started a student broadcasting crew, because you told me that was something you had done, and I'm really curious about how that all came to be and has evolved.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about that. Have to be honest with you, I was intrigued and learned about it from another school district that actually my nieces and nephews had taken part in. And I thought it was really cool. A lot of times as teachers, I think we're, the more we're bought into something, and because our excitement comes out for that it rolls into the students. Yeah. And so I sort of like to think, man, in my past life, I would have loved to have been on ESPN and called basketball games. But like when I was around, they were like, maybe there was, Robin Roberts was the first one who like actually did that, right? And so it wasn't, she was groundbreaking, so it wasn't really a kind of a thing. So I look back, man, that would have been cool to do. So my nieces and nephews, larger, bigger school district, but I just saw one of my nephews, my youngest nephew, he had played sports, wasn't that great, and quit. Right. But he still loves sports, and he has a mind for sports, very mathematical mind, statistical, remembers things like crazy. Even as a kid, he was organizing neighborhood tournaments for the other kids to play in. He didn't necessarily play. He organized it. Like, think of like March Madness and the brackets, whatever. He did the whole thing, And so, but with his mind like that, he got involved. Actually, other kids encouraged him to do it and set the teacher looking for him, just because of his sports knowledge. And so as a sophomore, he started calling football broadcast, not with video at first. It was live stream audio. But calling football games on Friday nights.
How cool. Just like at his school?
Yeah, at the school. Yes, they had the setup and they were doing this. And he wasn't even in the class, but they had him start. And so then they started, he was encouraged to take the class and started doing this. He graduated last year. The superintendent, even when they announced him for graduation, said his name and said the voice of Mason. Now I just gave where he was, but and that's how he was known. He actually was given a title of he ran the whole program.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
To the point even too, where he was actually making purchases. Like they let him
decide what they need. Yeah.
Like your podcast, like our microphones and headphones and all that. He set the schedule. He grew the program so much as to how many sports they covered. I was actually proud of him because he actually increased the number of girls in the club to call games and to be part of this. Now their focus on this was mostly sports, but because of the size of the school, they have other programs that did newspaper and news broadcasting, and things like that. But that was where my idea was. So I hooked up with them. Oh, and now he's at Indiana University, majoring in sports broadcasting. As a freshman, he's actually gotten to call boys and girls basketball games already.
How cool.
Which is not a thing for freshmen. So I'm so super proud of him.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He will be on ESPN one day, so we'll just leave it there. Yeah. But I was so encouraged because he found his passion. Yeah. He really was lost before that. And we were a little bit worried about him. But he found his passion. He just excelled and took off so much. And like as teachers, isn't that like that right now? I'm even getting goosebumps because that's what it's all about. Is it's about helping kids find something they're really interested in. They may not do it as a job, and whatever, but it might open another door for them, right? Push them down a different path, but give them something else. And so while I was here, I've been here at Winton Woods, I said, man, we've got a great athletic program. We've got a football program that has won state, multiple times. The community is supportive behind it. Let's do something like this. It took some convincing at first. It took me a while, a couple of years to kind of get this going. But yeah, it's now I have the support, total support of the principal, the whole admin staff, the athletic director, assistant athletic director, and the superintendent, loves it.
Oh, that's
I will
awesome.
say he's just crazy about it. So we started it as a club is what we have to do, right? To garner interest. We do clubs a little different here at Winton Woods. During the day, we actually have a break in the schedule, and it's called Warrior Time. Some people might say, oh, it's a study hall. It's not a study hall, but some students can get help. They can get together with their groups to work on their group projects or their PBL. And then we also offer clubs during this time as well.
That's great.
Because we did not have a lot of kids stay after school because they didn't have transportation.
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We do it during Warrior Bell is what it's called. And so, yeah, I kind of said to them, what do you guys want to do? They weren't sure at first. So, we kind of pushed, but we have a Twitter account and we live tweet. We did the football games and now we're doing basketball. We only do the home games for basketball though, because there's too many games. We try and tweet out about other things going on around the building and the other sports. We've done some stuff for our swimming team. Cool. Recently as well. We're trying to get our wrestling and our bowling teams done too.
Oh yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, we actually have, and I know this is controversial. Well, I know Twitter's now controversial in the whole thing, but for athletics, that's where sports is, and that's where the recruiters are, and that's where the colleges are, and so we're really trying to help our students out that way as well.
Sure.
But we also have a TikTok, and so I've actually I have one student. He kind of is in charge of and managing the Twitter, and then I have one who's doing the TikTok. And our TikTok, we really want to kind of emphasize things other than sports. And they go around and they pick a question and they just go around and ask random students, teachers, staff this question, and we throw it together in these these different TikToks.
Oh, cool.
And then they'll show me what are some TikTok trends going on, and so then we'll kind of replicate those. So we did one with a Spirit Week, and it was just we took a bunch of pictures, and then they're just these very fast random flashes of the pictures with this music, and then it slows down and says what the day is, and then random pictures, and then what the next day was. And
oh, that's neat.
So yeah, we've gone around. So some of the questions, what's your favorite candy when it was around Halloween? Their last one though, and I did not know this was a TikTok thing because admittedly I'm not as much on TikTok. But they went around and asked people how tall they are, right? And so you would answer, and then they'd measure them to see if they were correct or if about their height or not. I was like, is this a thing?
Yeah.
No. I was like, is this a thing? And they're like, yeah, it actually is. And so the girls were so excited about it. They came back. They're like only 3 people were actually right about their height.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
and what a random TikTok trend.
I know. I know. But what's really cool about the TikTok too? I have to tell you this story real quick. So a friend of mine is a teacher at a different district, and she had a new student come, and she was introducing herself and trying to make the student feel at home, and kind of said, "Oh, you're new here. Well, I am too. I used to teach at Winton Woods." And the girl was like, "No way. That's that school that has that TikTok where the girl goes around with a microphone asking other students all these questions."
Oh my gosh.
And my friend was, my friend knew about it because I tell her and everything.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Are you sure you got the right school? Winton Woods?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." And she described the girl. She's like, "But she gets to go around with a microphone." She was so focused on that microphone. But, with this microphone, and she gets to ask students questions, and then she's all on TikTok. It's really cool.
That is so
wild. I was like, hey, we're famous.
Yeah. TikTok famous.
Exactly. But and that's kind of the point. I'm like, then that's the thing with TikTok. It reaches different people. You don't have to have the followers, but it's the views. And there are people just all over, viewing us. And that's what we want to do. We want to focus on the good things that are going on at our school and how how neat our students are and just the diversity and just, everything. So
yeah, that's
what
way
we're doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you, if I came to you and I said, I want to do this at my school, what would you tell me, or where would you tell me to start, or what advice would you give me?
Absolutely. So I would start with somebody who really has a huge interest in this and has kind of a knowledge, right? Mm-hmm. And so I also grabbed the head of the English department. Okay. Because again, as we're starting this as a club, we would like to eventually make it a class. Mm-hmm. And we would probably throw it under a journalism class, which was our English, right?
Gotcha.
So I got her to do it with me. She's like, I don't know much about it. I'm like, that's okay. I just need you there, So we did that. We got a lot of information from my nephew's school, mm-hmm. and then I would share ours with them too. But you just go to the administration and you say, here's what I want to do. Here's why, and here's what it can do for students. Here's what we want to cover, and start small. I bit off a little bit more than I could chew to start with, just because I always think big and I always want to go big, and then reality sets in. but yeah, so, just get it started, and then don't be deterred. We have 10 kids. Okay. I have 10 kids. So we can't cover everything. Like I said, we can only do like the home games. Right now, I have to go to all of them too, just because, we're getting started. And so it's something that has to be something that you enjoy too. Yeah. To want to do, because again, like I said, I'm at all the games, and, just keep up that energy and just keep trying to recruit. Now I'm having teachers having me come in and speak to classes and kind of tie it in kind of with their classes.
Oh, nice.
And so now I just got 2 new recruits. So, 2 new people to add to the group, just because I went to this class and, mm-hmm. talked about what we do. I showed them our videos. I showed them our TikTok, everything. And I had one girl come up to me after. She said, all right, you sold me. Can I join?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, it is that. I mean, and then the other hard part is, you got to have a little bit of money to make some purchases, right?
Yeah, I was just going to ask about equipment.
Yeah, I had to kind of figure out, and again, I've had to kind of go back and forth a little bit with some of that equipment, because of course the kids like to use their phones, mm-hmm. which I'm fine with, but man, Apple keeps changing everything. And so, their versions and then what microphones can connect. So honestly, a couple microphones that we purchased don't even work with the iPhones anymore. Mm. And then and even some of the adapters that I have don't work anymore. I had to buy new adapters. And so you have to kind of keep up with some of that, but I think it's worth it. Definitely.
And I'm curious, how does since you have the Twitter account and the TikTok account, and, you're having students manage and access and whatever, how does that work with sign in and,
So the technology director created a generic, generic email for us.
Okay.
That email actually, though, is kind of funny. It's actually tied to our communications director. So she gets, I'm copied on it too, but she's like mm-hmm. the main point of contact for that. So again, lots of people that you kind of have to talk to and work with, mm-hmm. To get this going. But so we use that email to create an account. And so the ones that I give, that have the access, they're not all of my students have the password to Twitter or TikTok.
Yeah.
My 2 who do are my top students who are always there, who they're totally bought into this, kind of mm-hmm. do a little, go above and beyond, do a little bit more, and are trustworthy. But they all know we made them acknowledge and fill out that, this kind of contract that, one mess up, really, when it comes to social media, one mess up and you're done.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So there's an accountability piece.
And there's accountability, and so they do know that. And so, knock on wood, we've been good so far. So, yeah, and like I said, we've got great support from all around the district, the community. I mean, we've just gotten some really nice comments from community members who are following us, during the game, and be like, I couldn't make the football game, but I was, glad you guys did this. I got to see the score. I got to see highlights. You guys are doing a great job. So it's really kind of cool for the students to see that. Mm-hmm. And I want to give them a shout out too, because the district does this thing called they do a podcast. It's called the Warrior Supercast. And they actually interviewed us on one of those episodes. And yeah, I did a little bit, but they wanted to talk to the kids. Yeah. And it was really kind of cool because, even though I'm with them every day, some of the things that they said, I was like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way. Okay, you know. But a lot of them talked about, and it is kind of funny, a lot of the kids who signed, of those 10, I say a lot, but of those who signed up, you wouldn't think would have done this. They're a little bit more soft-spoken. They're a little bit more introverted. But almost every one of them said, I kind of felt like this would be an opportunity for me to come out of my shell a little bit more.
Yeah.
This was kind of a safe place to try to be a little bit more outgoing. You know, and one girl was like, I never really, I'm so quiet. I don't really talk to anybody. And she's interviewed football players and football coaches. And she's like, I never thought I would do that. You know, and so it's just really kind of cool to see. And that's what I want to do, right? Is to kind of just, even if none of them go into broadcasting or journalism or anything like this, just the other things that doors it might open for them, give them more confidence, things like that.
Yeah.
Because we also do other things. We do graphic design. We use Canva to do some graphic designs. And so I've got a couple girls who've really gotten into that. We do the video. So videographers, they're learning how to do that. And then a bunch of them have taken off on wanting to take pictures.
Oh, nice.
You know, and so coming to the games and then using those in our graphics or making little videos of all the pictures that they do. So
cool.
And they're building great just life skills.
Absolutely.
In general, that'll get them wherever they go, no matter what they do.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I talk about too. My one who manages the Twitter, he's just done a great job now that he is very professional, right? And so he'll go and talk to the statistician to get the stats before the game, the starters before the game, halftime. He's learning how to talk to adults and to interact, and you know how you to do things the right way and to work with the athletic director and getting things set up and just all of that. So it's just really, really, really cool.
Well, I'm so glad that you were willing to talk to us.
It's awesome.
It's been so much fun.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've kind of, rambled a lot about what I do, but
it's been great. It's been great. Teachers, you can now earn contact hours toward grad credit for listening to the podcast.
Visit fortheloveofedtech.org for more information.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our discussion today. If you like our podcast, please don't forget to subscribe to get notified when new episodes are released.
For more information about our podcast and to access links and resources referenced in this episode, check us out at fortheloveofedtech.org.